Hi guys, welcome back to the At the Bar podcast. My name is Alex Parkinson and I am back again with my co-host Harry Morris. Harry, what are we talking about today?
Right, so today we're going to look at the topic of goals and goal setting.
Cool, man. Just a few notes before we start. If you have a question you would like reading out on the show or a topic that you'd like us to discuss, you can email us anytime to theatbpodcast@gmail.com. and just put the word topic in the subject line. Alternatively, give us a follow on Instagram at ATBpod and you can message us through there. Mm-hmm. So today's pretty exciting because we've had our first listener question.
Yep, first one through.
Yeah, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to read it out and then me and Harry are going to discuss what we think. So I'm going to read it sort of verbatim we'll see where we go. So, hey guys, been a listener since pod 1. Enjoying the show and the evolution as you find your feet. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a question really for your opinion and guidance in the best way to set goals within fitness. As personal trainers, I'm sure when you sit down with a new client, you discuss what the overall goal is, i.e. lose weight, improve strength, learn a specific movement. Do you find that smaller, more achievable goals are better or bigger, broader targets that will take longer, more effective? Or a mixture of both? For example, in January, instead of doing New Year's resolutions, I sat down and drew up a list of New Year goals. These range from smaller goals like linking pull-ups together, to bigger goals that will probably take most of the year. For example, doing a bar muscle up, to goals that you're going to have to chip away at throughout the year. Complete 12 hero workouts in the year. Hero workouts, just for those that don't know, is a reference to CrossFit. Also, nutrition and weight goals like lose 1 stone and maintain that weight. Personally, I have found it difficult to work on the larger goals as they seem so far away. I kind of think I have time later in the year to work on those and just pick off the smaller, easier goals. This means my motivation slips slips on the larger goals. I also understand that the weight goal is kind of a double-edged sword, as I may be getting fitter and stronger, but not moving the needle on the scales. This is why I've stopped stepping on the scales and go on body shape instead. Just interested in your thoughts on goal setting, and I guess in turn motivation for achieving goals. Richard, that's one of our listeners from actually comes from my CrossFit gym, Richard Haynes. So Harry, I think you've got some good thoughts on this, so I'll let you lead us off.
Yeah, so first of all, in the specific case of Richard, I like to hear that he's come away from the scales. That's really good. As we know, the scales can be deceptive in terms of what we're weighing. Our bodies are made up of water, glycogen, that kind of thing, and it will affect the scale weight. So I'm glad that you've stepped away from that. It's also really, really cool that you've set out some performance goals. I heard something recently about training and lifestyle and nutrition in general, which, to be fair, I was going to mention to you, Alex. I thought it was really interesting. I wouldn't mind your thoughts on this. So yeah. I heard if you act like a dieter versus acting like an athlete, which one will set you up better? So I think the logic behind it is if you act and train and eat like an athlete, you're going to train hard, you're going to eat well, and you'll be in like a building more of a progressive, positive mindset. But if you train like a dieter, like you'll be thinking about trying to lose, burn. As regards eating, you'll be watching what you shouldn't eat rather than what you should. Just the contrasting mindset. So it's really nice that you've got performance goals because they'll push you forward rather than trying to think about pulling back.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And I think as well, going back to one of our earlier episodes of the show, we talked a little bit about the language around specifically nutrition. It was in that show.
Yes.
And I think that's so important, the language that you use when you're approaching potentially what are going to be big lifestyle changes for someone. You want to have fun whilst you do this. Yep. Like this, if this is a chore, if you resent going to the gym, if you resent having to eat the food that you're eating to achieve your goal, why are you doing it? Because there is that element of, short-term pain for long-term gain. Yeah, but what if you could have both?
Yeah, it's true. So it's a nice approach from you, Richard. Nice to hear that you're being ambitious and setting yourself these sorts of targets. So To break it down, one thought that I thought I'd raise about goal setting, what to set, in a consultation when I get somebody come to me, and generally what I'll get, using an example, is I'd like to lose weight, and that's all well and good. That's a good starting point. But what I always try to get at through my consultations is the why. I think you can have kind of a buy-in, but then you've also got, so that's to lose weight, but then you've also got your emotional buy-in. So how will losing that weight make you feel? How would you feel if you don't lose the weight? How do you feel now? What's going to change in your life if you get to that point? You know, will you be more confident? Will you feel a little bit better about yourself? And really trying to get down to the why. Having like just a performance goal, I'd like to, what was the example? Get a bar muscle up.
Bar muscle up, yeah.
Straight bar muscle up. That's awesome. But why do you want to do that? What's going to make you get on the bar and try and get yourself up over it like every single time? You might have a session, but what's going to bring you back every week to get you there? Do you want to feel more confident? Do you want to overcome a challenge? Do you want to push yourself, see what it feels like to kind of push past your comfort zone? Those are more emotional related as opposed to just the act of getting a bar muscle up. Alex, what are your thoughts on sort of emotional buy-ins to your goal?
Well, I think they are going to be the difference between you staying on track and not. Ultimately, I think what is going to happen is basically you're going to reach a point where you're going to be tested in terms of your commitment to the cause, and if your emotional buy-in or your goal is to almost like statistical in terms of I want to lose X amount of weight, that's not really a good motivator to keep coming, is it?
No.
Whereas if you know that losing that weight is going to mean that when you get married on what's going to be a one-off occasion in your life, you're going to look and feel amazing. That's worth it.
Yeah, and it's more of a motivator, in my opinion, when you have that buy-in. So specifically for Richard, and to be fair, anybody else out there, you need to try and get down to your why. You need to really think about why you want to do this and what's going to push you to get there.
Yeah, and to talk about like performance goals, part of the reason that I do what I do for my training is because if I focus in more on my performance and my abilities, you know, the aesthetic sort of side of things, the body composition, you know, lowering my body fat, looking leaner, feeling leaner, that's going to come accidentally.
Yeah, it's like training like an athlete, isn't it?
Yeah, it's incidental.
Yeah,
like, you know, and it's also like you're not obsessing over everything so much. Everything, to me anyway, you know, one of the things that you hear people complaining about is that, you know, someone's got good genetics, or that they've got you know, that their life is easy, or that no. These people prioritize and find time to make their goals happen, right?
Yep.
And yes, someone might be genetically gifted in the sense that just by pure genetics, their bicep is bigger than yours, but you train exactly the same. Yeah, that's something that is there are gonna be those differences in life. But you know, if you trained with the same intensity, then you're maximizing your potential.
Yeah. Again, something else I heard earlier in the week was I can't remember where I saw it. I think it was on Instagram, but it was about sort of, you know, natural talent.
Yeah.
Natural talent will only get you so far, but hard work beats natural talent out any day. It was saying to look back and kind of, I think it was Phil Graham.
Yeah, I've heard that from Ben Bergeron as well.
So it is kind of a common concept out there, but the person who works the hardest is always going to finish on top.
Yeah.
Because natural talent can get you somewhere, but it can't get you everywhere. And if you can combine the two, that's when you get kind of your greats, the elite level performers that we see, sorts of people like Usain Bolt, whose work ethic is crazy, but he's also just naturally blessed. That's like the perfect matchup, isn't it, between you know, raw ability and good work ethic. Exactly.
I think there's that thing, isn't there, about Usain Bolt, and when he starts a race, he's one of the slowest.
Yeah.
And actually his starts are pretty bad, but to rebuild his starts would have affected his finishes, and as we all know, his finish is pretty good.
He finishes, way in front.
He finishes better than most guys.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and I really do believe that, if you gave me two people, one who has amazing raw talent and one that's got an incredible work ethic, you want to work with the person that's got the work ethic.
Yeah, absolutely. And it usually comes from them having a pretty clear why. There's something that's dragging them to the gym to work, something that's pushing them that little bit harder than everybody else.
I think, we're talking about this from quite a performance-based level, but for general population people, I think you've just got to accept that there are going to be limitations on your goals, basically. So if you like a drink multiple times a week and you're not willing to compromise that, then that's going to affect your goals. So like I was talking to another trainer and they were saying, I've got a client and she's going on holiday and she wants to get into single digit body fat, and she's in her early 40s, and she likes her lifestyle. Let's phrase it like that. And she said that to him, and he said, no chance. Not only is it very difficult to achieve those levels of body fat at that age for most people anyway, but if you're not willing to compromise, if you're drinking twice a week, it ain't happening.
Sorry, getting distracted by your cat.
We've been joined on the podcast.
We've moved.
By my cat.
Yeah, we moved because we, as Alex has explained in previous podcasts, we had some damage to where we usually do this. So we're actually at Alex's house right now. Yeah. But you've got a cat, so.
On that note, side note, let us know if the sound quality is any better on this one. So what I want to talk about in terms of this question, Richard, is basically as a trainer, I think it is a mixture of both. You're right. Basically, we start off with quite large, broad goals, and then we make specific goals within them. And even as a personal trainer, I'll have goals for my clients that they don't know about.
Yeah.
It's almost like within the programming that I'm generating, either for our one-to-one sessions or the sessions that they're doing by themselves, it's because there's broader goals. So someone might come up to me and say, okay, I want to be able to back squat 2 times body weight. That's quite a big goal for most people. And I'm like, okay, cool. But I assess their squat in our first session. And sorry, the cat has really wanted to speak her mind, isn't she? So I assess their squat in the first session, and they've got mobility issues. Maybe they've got ankle mobility issues or hip mobility, or maybe they're just really struggling to squat to full depth because they've got instability in the core. So we're going to have to introduce other exercises into the program that's ultimately going to put them in a better position to achieve that broader goal of reaching the 2 times body weight back squat. So that's one thing. And then also we want to break down those bigger goals into smaller goals, I think. So for example, Richard, you said that, wanted to achieve a muscle up this year. So I'm going to speak about this as if I was speaking to someone that hasn't been training for a little bit. If you looked at someone who's doing calisthenics, which is sort of the art of moving one's body, and you thought, I want to be able to do a muscle up. For those that don't know what a muscle up is, basically you start at full extension hanging off a bar and you end at full extension extended over the bar.
Yeah, so it's a combination of a pull up and a dip. So you pull yourself up on top of the bar and then press yourself out on top of the bar.
So first of all, you got to be able to do pull-ups. If you can't do pull-ups, you're not doing a muscle up. And once you've done pull-ups, the progression then is to get onto chest-to-bar pull-ups, which is when you're able to pull your chest literally to the bar. Then we've got things like straight bar dips to work on the press out. And then you've got the transition work where you're moving from the pull-up into the bottom of the dip.
Yep.
And all that work has got to come together. So we would break down that bigger goal of one muscle up into these smaller goals. So if Anthony comes to me and he says, I want to do one muscle up, and he hasn't got one pull up, so then the first thing is developing that pull up. So maybe it's being able to do ring rows directly under the rings, or
band assisted.
So
negatives.
So in terms of what you're saying, Richard, about getting demotivated because the goal seems so far away, I would start with those broad goals and then break it down. So by the end of, so if we're starting from January, so by the end of March, I want to be able to do one strict chest to bar. By the end of June, I want to be able to link 5 strict chest to bar. In the meantime, I want to have been practicing my transitions. Maybe I can't do dips to start with, so I've got to build up my dip strength, and we start just dipping off a box. Then we work on to parallettes, then we work into rings. So there's always this transition, and then just to talk about it again in more of a general population sense in terms of my experience and the kind of people that I work with. Someone comes to me and says, okay, I've got a holiday coming up. If they came to me now and they said, I've got a holiday coming up in June, I want to lose X amount of weight. Obviously, we'd go down the emotional route, first of all, which is what you spoke about.
Find that buy-in.
Find the buy-in, what's going to keep them on track when things get tough, or when they get an offer to go out for a curry or something like that. And then we can then break that larger goal of wanting to lose, let's call it 2 stone, and we'll break that down into weekly or monthly goals. We'll, as best as we can, we'll track food. Like, as a personal trainer, I do want to look at you as if I'm looking at an athlete. Like, I'm not a strength and conditioning coach yet, but I want to try and treat you as professionally as I can. And the more we can dial in lifestyle factors and habits and make little changes regularly that are sustainable and that you enjoy, then you're gonna not only are you gonna adhere to it, you're gonna smash your goals, and you're gonna reach that emotional goal, which is what you talked about, that emotional buy-in. The reason that you've done all this hard work.
So I'll use the example, the illustration. It's like if you want to cross a river. So let's say the goal, we'll stick with the lose 2 stone. So I want to lose 2 stone, and you're on one side of the river and 2 stones on the other. You could try and jump from one side of the river all the way to the other. Chances are you're going to fall, and you're going to get yourself wet. You're going to need to go for a little swim to get to the other side. Or you lay down some stepping stones, and you slowly, if in terms of goals, so your goal is to get to the end, but we're not gonna jump from where we are now to where we need to be. We're gonna put a stepping stone down, and the first goal is to get onto that stepping stone. That's a small goal. So applying it to the muscle up, that will be your pull up. And then next up, your chest to bar. Add another stepping stone, and it links nicely to something I studied during my A levels. I studied A level PE, and one of the areas was sports psychology. And we looked at drive motivation, which basically, using that stepping stone illustration, it's how somebody's motivation increases as they hit small achievable targets. So you might get individuals who they love seeing that progress. So it's like, oh, well, this week I got into the gym 3 times. Like, I've never done that before, and it'll fire them up to get to the next goal. So I've been in the gym 3 times this week, and I managed to log all my food this week, and then next time, like, they're fired up even more, and it's progressive, and their motivation just increases and as they accelerate towards their goal.
That's really interesting. So I got this off Ben Bergeron, and it's something that he basically owns a chain of gyms, and it's something that he implements in his gym, and I've just started introducing it to my clients. And although we only started it this month, we've already had like a huge sort of improvement in what I'm about to talk about. So basically what I said was, okay guys, here's a set of rules that I want you to follow. Basically, we're going to start a leaderboard, a monthly leaderboard, and to get onto that leaderboard, you're going to earn points, okay? And those points are going to be based around how many times you get into the gym. In fact, here I'll read to you out. Okay, so the leaderboard is going to be called The Committed, and it's a way of keeping each other as a community accountable to your goals. So you get 5 points for a PT session, attending my boot camp, or attending one of my train with the trainer sessions. You get 3 points for attending a Metcon session or your own gym session, including classes. You get 2 points every week. You keep your food diary up to date, and then there's bonus points given out at my discretion. And so far, there are quite a few individuals that have just started going to the gym a lot more. They've started keeping on track of their nutrition a lot more, and it's really had an impact. Now, I haven't even said that there's a prize at stake here. There isn't. The prize is getting onto the leaderboard, and basically the end result is you need to make 40 points just to get onto the leaderboard. Okay, so for most people, that means that they're going to have to pull up their socks a little bit. And it's more of a pride thing. Like, you know, that is given, that's empowering people by having like an individual goal. Okay, I want to get to 40 points. So what do I need to do? Okay, so I've got my 4 PT sessions. That gets me half the way there. Then I've got to come in at, an extra few times a week for myself. And then, you know, if I work really hard in my PT session, maybe I'm going to get a bonus point.
Yeah, and that's awesome because it's measurable. So the last little bit of theory I'll touch on, because we're going to wrap things up soon, is actually for goal setting. It probably might be something you've heard of before, but it's called the SMART targets. So SMART is an acronym. That is the word, yeah, an acronym broken down. So S stands for specific, M for measurable, A achievable, R realistic, and T time bound. So when someone comes to me and they say, I want to lose weight, okay, that's pretty generic. So we're going to break it through that process. So specific, you want to lose weight, why? So that'll be where I discover the emotional buy-in. Why do you want to do it? Measurable, how long is that going to take? So for you, that measurable is you're looking at people's progress. They're able to measure themselves against the points that they're earning. So there's a measure. Otherwise, you're just guessing.
Yeah.
Achievable. So I want to lose 2 stone in a week. Sorry, maybe not achievable. You know, it needs to be something that you can actually do, which ties in nicely to realistic. So are you going to do this? That's where we'd sort of outline how that can fit in with your lifestyle. So it may be achievable, but is it realistic considering what's going to be needed to achieve that goal?
Yeah.
And then time bound. So by putting a time limit on it, you've got that motivator. I'd like to lose 2 stone within 6 months. Okay, awesome. So we've got 6 months. Let's get you to where you need to be.
Yeah.
So that's the last little bit of theory I was going to touch on for goal setting. Hopefully that's something you can apply.
Yeah. Yeah. I've just got sort of an additional acronym for everyone out there. So this one's called WHOOPIE. Okay, WHOOPIE. And basically this is sort of breaking it down even more and sort of touching on what Harry was talking about earlier by introducing that emotional element to it. So the W and the H stand for wishing and hoping. So what do you wish will happen and what do we hope we're going to achieve? What the outcome of that is going to be. So that's the first O. The second O is what are the obstacles in the way. The P is plan. What's the plan to achieve the things that we wish and we hope for? Mm-hmm. Then we're gonna identify the key things within that plan, and finally, for the E, execute the plan.
Get it done.
Yeah. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's something that I'd like to talk about a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, on a later date.
Yeah, we could go forever on this. It's quite a broad topic, but I think the takeaway is train like an athlete. Set yourself these targets of being more, and try and have a positive mind frame around what you're trying to achieve. Have a clear plan, and map that out in terms of smaller goals to help you achieve a long one. And that those are the 2 take-home points that I got from our discussion.
Yeah, like I would 100% just say to Richard in particular as well. Like the thing is so for example for myself, like I know that there are components of my gymnastic abilities that I need to work on. So I need to be able to chip away from them outside of someone else's programming in a way. So within the gym that we both attend, there's pre-written programming, but that might not cover how to get to your first muscle up on the days that you go in. So if you want to achieve your muscle up, you're gonna maybe have to put in some work outside of that.
Extra work, yeah,
and that's fine. Like that will happen.
Cool.
But and you'll be working on other stuff within those classes. So you maybe an extra goal that you haven't mentioned is to improve your strength in your squat. So that's something that's going to be covered in the class. Whereas the muscle up transition is maybe something that only will every now and then come up. Yeah. So you need to be studious, take down notes on what you do for those progressions, and then whenever you've got the chance to practice those progressions.
But the fact that Richard's even setting goals, it already, I don't even know him, but it's filled me with confidence because the fact that he's took time to make that list and he's thought about this stuff, he's going to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
So keep up the good work.
You will actualize these. It's just that process. And if you think that you're already in March getting demotivated for goals at the end of the year. Let's break that goal down, and bring it closer.
A bit closer, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. So we'll leave you there. Hopefully that's answered your question, Richard, a little bit. At least giving you some things to think about. Just one last thing, guys. Remember, if you want your question answered or discussed on the show, you just need to email us to the ATB podcast@gmail.com or direct messages through Instagram. You can find us at ATB Pod. You can find me at Rise Fitness UK. You can find Harry
At HMPT Coaching.
Yeah, sweet. Have an awesome week, guys. Keep smashing those goals. Any questions for us that maybe you don't want answered on the pod, but you'd still like to get an opinion on, just give us a direct message to our own pages. We'll be happy to answer your questions. If you see us about the gym, if you're local to the area, come and say hi. We'd love to chat and get to know you guys.
Cool. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
Cheers, team.
Bye.